to what IRW has been doing. Thank you all.
Hey, Martha, thank you so much for that. And is everybody seeing my screen and hearing my voice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right. So I wanted to begin by thanking you all for being here on this gorgeous Sunday where you could be anywhere. And I think that your presence here really reflects your concern, your questions, your care for our immigrant, refugee neighbors, friends, family members, etc. So I'm very grateful that you're here. I also wanted to express my gratitude to Martha, who has done a great job setting us up, giving us this background. And also all the people, you're going to see there's a lot of troublers who are going to present today on the various work that we have been doing in what we call IRW, Immigrant Refugee Work Group. So Martha and I are the co-leads of that. And finally, I just want to thank all of our partners, and you will learn that we are partnered with a lot of wonderful people and organizations. So IRW has about 100 people, probably more. We meet once a month, usually by Zoom. And we also communicate primarily through Signal because of the vulnerability of the people and the organizations that we work with. I think also to say that in every Zoom meeting that we have one of our partners come and speak with us and tell us about their organization, the issues, what's important to them, and how they could help, how we could help them even more. So for instance, here is Emily. If you see my arrow, this is Emily Laney and Vedad Fetek, and they're both from Welcome Co-op. We also have had the joy of meeting in person. As everybody knows, Zoom is great, but meeting in person is even greater. And we've met twice, once for a potluck at my house, and just a couple of weeks ago at Refuge Coffee, which is one of our newest partners. So meeting in person is also something we try to do, I'd say once a quarter if possible. The next immigrant refugee work group that we're going to have is going to be on Zoom on December 14th. And our speakers are Juanita Lopez and Emil Keme, who are both Mayan. They were brought to the United States during the genocide in Guatemala, and they are very active in the Mayan International League and in the museum up in Washington, D.C. for indigenous people, etc. So I'm very excited about them coming to speak with us, because it is true that when we think of immigrants from south of the border, we primarily think of Latina folks, but in fact, a huge percentage of people who come from south of the border are actually indigenous. And so they have been pushed not just by poverty, but also by prejudice from the countries they are coming from. So I think having Juanita and Emil with us will be really quite special. So if you're interested in that meeting, please put your name and your email in the chat. And you can just put IRW along with that, okay? In addition to our main group, we have a lot of subgroups, and those have really grown quite organically. But we have a lot of them now, and it means people are very busy and doing wonderful, wonderful work. Each one of these is a Signal site as well as a subgroup that's associated with it, and we're going to be hearing reports from those folks today. We also have a forum where people can post articles and resources and just chat together. And if you're interested in any of these as we move through our reports, we would ask you to please put your name, your email, and your subgroup interest in the chat. And if you're not sure, just put IRW and we will get back to you. So we're going to start with those now, and the first group to present will be DeKalb Immigrants Allies, and that's Jean and Manette. And so please unmute yourself, my friends, and tell us about Allies.
Hi, I'm Annette, and Jean and I are going to tag team the next 3 slides. Immigrant Allies has conversations with local and state officials to make our position on immigrant rights clear. We must ensure the safety and dignity of our immigrant community. The 8 local officials we've talked with so far are interesting, dedicated, and inspiring people. We are evolving a process for engaging and following up with them. It boils down, though, to asking very simple questions about how we as a community are going to protect our immigrant neighbors. Some of their responses: they support all their residents. They provide economic development funds to immigrant businesses. They engage nonprofits to help lessen learning loss when students are too frightened to go to school. The police have not signed agreements with ICE. The police chief told us to call 911 if we see masked men grabbing people off the street. And he agreed to meet with the Latino community about their concerns. At the same time, our officials don't want to get back on the ICE list of sanctuary cities. They are unlikely to pass ordinances limiting federal actions in our county. Next slide, Tara.
So we didn't decide on our own that this is what immigrants need. This was a request from our partner, GLAR. GLAR is the Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights. They created this allies program, and they train people throughout Georgia on how to become allies. Their goal is to stop the kidnappings, and our role as allies is to build community consensus and awareness that we support immigrants and we're not okay with how the regime is treating our neighbors. GLAR's next training session is on December 3rd via Zoom. So if you're interested, as we've been saying, please put your name in the chat, what you're interested in, and the contact information in the chat. Next slide, please.
We know this might sound like just a lot of Zoom meetings, and it is, but standing in our truth that the persecution of the Latino community is not okay is how we resist. Plus, we make fun. We tried to write a protest song, which turned out to be more of a shouted rant. It felt good to shout, but the musicality needs a little work, so perhaps we'll unveil it at a future Allies meeting. Take us away, Jean.
Please join our Zoom meeting on December 7th. You'll hear from the Asian Americans Advancing Justice. They're going to share their plans for challenging Georgia immigration law in the 2026 legislative session, and we'll support them by engaging our state legislators. So again, please put your name in the chat. Thank you. Over to you, Tara.
Thank you so much to both of you. And this is a very impressive group. I think that their work is going to become a template for other counties around Georgia because they're doing such impressive work. So if your thing is talking to legislators and elected officials, police chiefs, etc., here in DeKalb, please put your name and your email and allies in the chat. Okay, so our next group is also connected, and this is Immigrant Rights Thursdays, and I'd like to ask Ken Dominguez to tell us about this.
Thank you, Tara. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So Immigrant Rights Thursdays provides an opportunity for the community to help protect and defend the rights of immigrants at the state capitol during its legislative session. So last year, this ran between January through April. And typically, each week, a different immigrant rights organization engages the community members on a variety of issues facing Georgia immigrant communities. They share information about the work they do and about an important piece of anti or pro immigrant legislation introduced by the Georgia General Assembly aimed at our communities. They also invite legislators with an interest in immigrant rights to the sessions to discuss what they're working on and also to share testimonies with those individuals so they can hear directly from the community. And over the years, various organizations have coordinated these sessions, including but not limited to the group we just heard about, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, the Southern Poverty Law Center, Women Watch Africa, Inc., New American Pathways, the Latino Community Fund, We Are Casa, Migrant Equity Southeast, and others. And this particular photo depicts a meeting that occurred on Thursday, February 13th of this year. On the far left is Glory Kilanko, who's the founder of the Women Watch Africa, Inc., a nonprofit grassroots social justice women's organization that helps acculturate immigrant and refugee women and men arriving to the U.S. from 23 African nations. On the far right is Alberto Peregrino, the lead organizer for We Are Casa, the Georgia chapter. And that's a new advocacy and organizing hub for the Black immigrant and working class community in the state to lobby legislators, recruit new activists, provide training, and to make connections to develop a robust outreach program in the state. Next slide, please.
And of course, in the center is Representative Gabriel Sanchez.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Representative Gabriel Sanchez. He's a representative of the district, and he represents Smyrna. He is one of 8 Hispanic Latino legislators out of 236 Georgia legislators, including 180 representatives and 56 senators. During that same session, we also heard from Ann Allen Westbrook, who's a representative of the 163rd district in Savannah. And she basically told us about her support for the English as a second language bill, Georgia Bill HB 437. And then also Spencer Fry, a representative from the 122nd District of Athens, Georgia, and the Minority Caucus Vice Chairman discussed issues around driver's licenses for undocumented persons. This current slide that we're on depicts Jennifer Lee, who's the policy director for the Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and also Aska Mahmood, who's the executive director for CARE Georgia, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations and the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. On the right, you can see Manette Messenger and Martha Rees filling out blue slips to request a representative from the Georgia legislature to meet at the ropes with the goal of providing education around a particular bill affecting immigrants in Georgia. And at the very bottom, that's me talking to one of the legislators as well. Next slide. So on the left, you can see the Gold Dome update, which really tells us the bottom line here is that this is published by the Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and indicates that at the end of last year's 2025 legislative session on April 7th, none of the highest priority harmful bills advancing justice was tracking passed into law. So that is, ring the bell, sing, be happy. So it shows that, really the advocating for against some of these anti-immigrant bills does make a difference. And then the last photo is a photo of myself, Martha Rees, and Manette Messenger taking a photo in front of the Capitol after the last Immigrant Rights Thursday session last year, where we all had the opportunity to advocate at the ropes. We felt quite energized after the session, and some of the representatives stated that we provided information that they weren't aware of and plan to share with other legislators. So we highly recommend participating in this group and welcome you to join us this year.
Thank you, Ken. So the legislative session begins in January and will run through the spring. So if you're interested in this, please put your name and email and Thursdays in the chat. Okay, so Bears, please, Dano, tell us about Bears for Kids.
Let's see if I can figure out how to unmute here. I think I did just fine. Hello, everyone. My name is Dano McDonald, and I am the self-proclaimed den mother of Bears for Kids. We are a group, started out just one or two of us that had gotten together, thought maybe we could use our crafting skills to make a few stuffed animals for some marginalized children. And our group has grown tremendously. We had our first gathering back in June. If you can believe that, since then we've made 644 bears as of today. We get together in actually before I tell you where we get together, we get together to make bears. We have two groups that you'll hear more about here in a little bit. We make bears for the Casa Alterna group, and they take those bears down to the immigration and ICE headquarters lines and provide those to children that are waiting in line, as well as to some adults who seem to actually really enjoy the bears as well. We've had a lot of fun. Our group is now, we've got 44 people, and it's a really interesting cross group because I think this is one of the groups that isn't just Necessary Trouble. We actually have two or three different groups. We've got Necessary Trouble, Marching Buddies, and a group from Gwinnett that are all part of Indivisible that participate in these activities. And there's also some outside folks that come and join us as well. So it's really been a really nice cross section of people getting together for a common cause. Just real quick before we move off this slide, two things I'd like to point out. The bears in the upper right-hand corner come to us from a sister-in-law, Jean. I believe it's Jean's sister-in-law from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where they're making bears and sending them down to us. I have two groups in Michigan, and we also have a group in Missouri that's sending us some bears. So we're really becoming kind of national. And then the bottom right picture, I just want to point out that with our partnership with Welcome Co-op, they sometimes provide bears or dogs or other stuffed animals that we can provide to the folks at Casa Alterna and El Refugio. And these are very special because these particular stuffed animals are actually made by unhoused, unhomed Kurdish refugees families in Iraq. I was Iraq, I believe it was.
Yes.
So it's really quite amazing how we're involved with so many people. And you can pop over to that next slide if you'd like. So what we do is we get groups together. We do pop-up events, which are just basically if you and a friend or two want to get together and make bears, we do that. And once a month, we actually get together and we have a big group, sometimes as many as 30 people will get together and make bears. And for those of you that might be interested, you don't have to know how to sew. We need sewers, we need stuffers, we need people who can sew the back of a neck closed. And now we're kind of moving into a new phase where we need face makers. If you have any kind of crafting ability that you can paint a face or use infusible ink or vinyl to make faces or embroidery, which is what we've been doing. We're looking for anybody who wants to join us. And our next event actually is this coming weekend. We'll be meeting at, actually, if you're interested, I'll let you put it in the chat because we do kind of try to keep our locations a bit under wraps because some of the places that we meet are sanctuary and safe spaces. But I would love to have some of you join us and come make bears with us. It's a fun gig and for a great cause.
Thank you, Dano. Thank you so much. 644 bears. That's something. Okay, so Tony, would you please tell us about delivering groceries through and with Casa Alterna?
I sure can, because I just came from there. I got a little history of this program just recently from one of its famous people, Alberto. An attorney had been in line with some clients of his at the gates of ICE, And he mentioned to Anton that there was this one apartment community that was mostly undocumented people. And he suggested that we do this at this community. And so that's how the program got started. And the idea is not just that we provide the food, which obviously the people need because it's all free. We can also talk to them about resources, help them find attorneys, some of the same things that we do at the gates of ICE, but on a more casual, less stressful basis. And on the slide, I guess on your left, there's Anton and several other people. We go every Sunday at 2:00 with 4 tables. You can go to the next slide, I think. And set up the tables with all the food that's donated. It's donated from places like Publix, from Whole Foods, from Sprouts, from all over the place. There's lots of fresh fruit and vegetables. There's tons of bread. There's pre-prepared meals. Oh my God, the bakery goods. But anyway, we take everything, put it out on the tables, and then there's a system. People have numbers, and they come through the line and pick up their food and head out. And there we go. There's one of the groups, and you can see the vegetables. They're beautiful. They're lovely stuff. But what I've noticed lately is, since the SNAP benefit thing, some of the people that come are not just our immigrants. Some of the families that maybe lost their SNAP benefits, they're coming too, if it's okay to say that. But this is one of the not easy, but this is one of the one of the helpful things we can do. You don't need to speak Spanish. You just need to be willing to work and get your hands dirty a little bit and be friendly. That's all you really need to do for this program. So if anybody wants to join that, I guess they can put it in the chat too, and we'll go from there. It's a great opportunity, and it's wonderful people. The people we meet are wonderful.
Thank you, Tony.
They've become real friends to the regulars.
Thank you, Tony. And I think there's also pickup to help get the food from the stores. That's something people help
I did forget that. Thanks.
That's okay. No,
we do go to the stores.
Yeah. And
Pardon?
Also, yeah. So thank you so much, Tony. Yep. Okay. So this is another group with our partner Casa Alterna. And these are people who are called compas, companions, who go to the ICE field office and the immigration court and accompany people there. And so if Susan Cole, you could tell us about this, please.
Yes. Hi, everyone. For those who aren't familiar with what the compas do, Tara just described it briefly, and I'm going to tell you a little more about it and then talk to you about or describe briefly some of the recent trends that we are seeing as we go down to ICE and the court. So on the left of the first slide, you'll see people standing next to a gate or a fence, an iron fence, and they are standing in front of the building, which is both the ICE field office in Atlanta and one of the 2 immigration courts in Atlanta. And what the Compass have done since February is to go down to that place and accompany those who are waiting in line because they're required to report to ICE or they have a court appearance. And we go there in solidarity with our immigrant neighbors to offer a humane and helpful presence and to counter what is a cruel and inhumane process that they are forced to endure. So the image, as I said, on the left side of the slide shows the entrance to the court and the ICE facility. When the Compass volunteers arrive, there's already a line of people waiting outside those gates to go to report to ICE or to go to court. The graphic on the right shows it's a graphic of the building, and as it suggests, some of the people who go into that building do not come out. They don't know that they're going to be arrested, but they are arrested and detained. The next slide, please. So this slide on the left shows one of Dano's bears, and it's such a pleasure to be able to give those bears to people who were standing in line. And this was given to either the adult or his child by a Kampa. In addition to the bears, we give people snacks, umbrellas when it's raining. Sometimes they are required to wait outside for for a long time, even hours, not allowed to go inside. We give them red cards explaining their constitutional rights. We do not give legal advice, but we do help them find attorneys. So there are some important trends that we've been noticing recently. In the past 9 months since we've been going to ICE, we have seen conditions grow more repressive and harsher. Some people are now being held, some of our immigrant friends and neighbors are being held in the basement of the ICE field office for days before they're sent to a detention center. More people are being required to wear ankle bracelets, so ICE knows where they are at all times. The reporting times are being shortened from what used to be typically a year to sometimes as short as 3 months. So there's a lot more surveillance and repression going on. As these conditions get worse, we try to help people understand what is happening and what their options are. Next slide. Well, I'm sorry. No, I forgot to talk about what was on that slide. Back, if you could go back. Georgia is home. This photo illustrates the heartbreaking situation that our immigrant friends are experiencing. Some of them have lived in Georgia. Georgia's been their home for 30 or 40 years, and they're suddenly being kicked out. So now the next slide. So this situation is what the Kampas step into. It is heartbreaking, but it is also incredibly rewarding to accompany and connect with people who are going through this ordeal. You can make the experience a little bit more humane, and you receive the gift of witnessing strength, humor, gratitude, generosity, and incredible resilience. And you are working with wonderful, supportive volunteers. And you see some of those on the right in this slide. And so please join us, ask questions, take the training. The slide on the left shows the date of the next training and the location and the particulars. So please do consider joining us. It's really wonderful, hard, but wonderful work.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. So again, please put in the chat if you're interested in COMPAS, C-O-M-P-A-S, companions, and someone will get in touch with you from this subgroup.
And could I just also say, Tara, there's people can and are encouraged to contribute, and maybe you're going to make that pitch at some point later.
We are.
Okay. All right.
We are.
Good.
We are.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Connie Rose.
Hi. I have a lot to say in very little time, so I'm going to jump right into this. But El Refugio is a hospitality house that's down in Lumpkin, Georgia, which is about 2.25 hours south of us. And it is also the location of Stewart Detention Center. 15 years ago, it was identified that in Lumpkin, there are absolutely no conveniences. And so this group was formed and a house was purchased. And so now the families and friends who want to visit their loved ones in the detention center can come to the house before or after the visit. And we have a lot of food there. And you can see a milk car in that first picture, getting the food ready. And he is the director of this organization. And they can rest there. We've got bathrooms because there's no public bathrooms in the town. And we've got a lot of beds. So people can rest before they go to their visit or after, or some people even spend the Saturday night there because the house is just open on Saturdays and Sundays. And the other really important thing that I think is that these family members can meet with other family members and talk with them, hear about their experiences, et cetera, in there. And so volunteers are needed there for the weekend, obviously, to get the food and everything else for these people. So it's really an incredible experience to do. And of course, Dano's bears have shown up there too. They're ubiquitous in Georgia, I think, at this point. The other things that volunteers do are visits into the detention center. And with that, you don't need Spanish. Oh, and also to work the hospitality house, you don't have to have Spanish. And the visits, you don't have to, but it's helpful. And the immigrants who are in the center have requested somebody come see them. And that visitor may be the only person that they see from the outside world, because maybe their friends and family live too far away to visit, or maybe don't even live in the States. So it's a very moving experience for both the immigrant and the visitor. And my time's almost out, but I'm going to tell you about the hotline too, the third thing. And this is for people who are fluent in Spanish. And this is so people within Stewart can call and talk to somebody who's had some training and all in fluent in Spanish. And so they're one contact to the outside world. They know ICE is listening, so they sometimes have to temper what they say, but the volunteer can give them support while they're in there. Sometimes the volunteer will be contacting family members for them because maybe they haven't been able to talk to the family member. So the volunteer can help with that. Also, there is some money and to be had, and so maybe the person inside has no money to put in their commissary accounts. So the volunteer may be able to help with that. And of course, donations are always welcome for El Refugio. And my time is up, so I don't want to get in trouble with Tara, but I will put information for contacts in the chat. And any questions, please contact me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You did great, Connie Rose. Everybody's doing good. We're really just almost right on time, friends. So, David, if you can talk about our last group, Welcome Co-op and Shop of Hope.
Yes, thanks, Tara. Hi, everybody. The Welcome Co-op started in 2021 as a collaboration of the four largest refugee resettlement agencies that operate in the Atlanta area: New American Pathways, International Rescue Committee, Catholic Charities, and Inspiritus. They got together to pool resources to secure and settle incoming refugee families and set them up in furnished apartments. The organization operates, as you can see in the right-hand picture, and both that's the front on the left, inside the warehouse, operates out of a warehouse in Tucker, where we also operate a free donation-driven thrift store called the Shop of Hope. If you can go to the next slide, please, Tara. In 2024, there were a record number of refugees admitted into the US, about 124,000 people, and the co-op settled that year more than 1,500 families in the Atlanta area. This year, that dropped to almost zero as the Trump administration cut refugee numbers down again to almost zero. Uh, and now the projection, what the word is on the street is that they're going to set a limit for 2026 of about 15,000 refugees, which again would be a historic low. And most of those, they're saying, would be white Afrikaners from South Africa. The co-op, as a result of that drop, saw a dramatic drop in income as well. And it's also shifted the emphasis of the work from settling families into apartments to helping them move in kind of emergency situations, as in the case of a fire in an apartment complex in Clarkston, where many refugee families were housed a couple of months ago, and also on equipping them with clothes and household goods through the Shop of Hope and expanding the number of folks that they serve in the broader refugee community and the immigrant community as well. If you can go to the last slide, Tara. Well, I'll just say here, just for folks who might be interested, for most of us who do volunteer, we're there usually Mondays through Thursdays and roughly in the hours from 10 to 1 p.m. There's some variation that, and there's room for to adjust to people's schedules, but I'll tell you more about that in a moment. If you can go to the next slide. So part of the drop in refugee emissions has been a significant loss in the not only income, but a reduction in staff. And many of the troublers, there are about 10 to 12 of us who usually gather throughout the week at the co-op. And folks have done a wide variety of jobs working with the now really only two full-time staff and an AmeriCorps volunteer to reorganize things and to streamline operations. And are also do some fundraising. This is a picture of an event that actually just happened yesterday at one of our partner organizations with the folks at Refugee Coffee in Clarkston, where there was a friends and family sale to help clear out some of the backlog of clothing at the warehouse and to raise some money to help with the operations and also to help folks out who are having to make hard choices about clothing versus food and that sort of thing. We spend most of our time when we're there sorting, organizing, putting the clothing together and out on the floor of the shop, and also helping refugee families who are coming in find the things that they need for themselves and their children. So there is an opportunity to really interact with folks who are coming in and to hear a little bit about their lives and their situation and to have that kind of face-to-face contact. The other thing I'll just mention is that because of that loss in income that I talked about earlier, staff have told us repeatedly that literally the influx of necessary trouble volunteers may have helped kept the operation from having to close earlier this year. That we've literally helped keep it running and running smoothly. And so folks have been very grateful for that. If you'd like to know more and would like to potentially volunteer, please let us know in the chat and we'll follow up with you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. So, just to say that people in IRW and elsewhere are doing all sorts of immigrant and refugee related things. And these will be talked about in upcoming Necessary Trouble meetings when we talk about direct action. And here are some immigrant related direct actions that people have participated in, including honoring the people who have died at Stewart Detention Center in Oakland during the Day of the Dead, and banners. And today I know our bannering people did a banner. So I'm going to put all of this information in the chat, the kinds of things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have a lot of things that happen that you can join us with. So just please put your name and your contact in the chat if you're interested. And I will also put donation links in the chat. So thank you to my extraordinary team. Yeah, thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much to all the members of the immigrant and refugee work groups for your efforts and for developing such an informative and motivating program for us today. As everyone has been reiterating throughout the different presentations, you know, volunteers are what makes Necessary Troubles power. The volunteers make us go. So if you missed everyone else's plea, here's another one. Please put your name, your email, your phone number, and your subject of interest in the chat, and you will be contacted for the wonderful work that we're doing. So at this time, I would like to turn the program over to Becky, and she's going to give us lifting up the volunteers and successes that contributed in November. Becky.
Thank you, PJ. And before we move on to that, can we just do just a really, even though a very loud roar of affirmation and appreciation and respect and awe for that amazing work group. It is so moving to hear all that. None of that existed that we were doing a year ago. At the very beginning of 2024, among the other goals that kind of strategic planning that Necessary Trouble did, we knew that immigrants and refugees were going to be in the crosshairs. And so we set as an intention to work in that area. Tara and Martha Reese kind of graciously agreed to co-head that work, and little did we know it would end up at the end of the year with 100 volunteers and 8 subgroups and 6 or 7 considerable partners, and 644 bears, right? So so much appreciation and gratitude for all of that hard and heartfelt work.